Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Somali Gupta, Faculty of English, Government VYT PG Autonomous College, Durg. Today I'm going to take up Disgrace, a novel by J.M. Coetzee. This paper has been included in semester 4. In today's lecture, I shall be dealing with a small introduction to J.M. Coetzee, a backdrop of the novel, Africa, especially as a post-colonial country, a brief outline to the novel Disgrace. Now a little bit about the author. South African novelist, literary critic and translator J.M. Coetzee is a recipient of 2003 Nobel Prize in Literature and a two-time winner of the Booker Prize. His writing often uses his country's apartheid system and its post-apartheid transition as the mirror for bleakness of the human condition. Coetzee's best-known novels are Waiting for the Barbarians, Life and Times of Michael K., The Master of Petersburg, and Disgrace. He also published books of essays and 2 memoirs, Boyhood and Youth. Coetzee has held visiting professorships at numerous institutions, including Harvard, the University of Texas at Austin, Johns Hopkins University, the University of Chicago, and the University of Adelaide. John Maxwell Coetzee. About the author a little bit. This is our author. He won the Nobel Prize in 2003. He was born on 9th February 1940 in Cape Town, South Africa. At that period, he was living in South Africa. Currently, he lives in Australia. 2 times Booker winner, Disgrace and Life and Times of Michael K. Now for the background of the novel. After the peaceful elections in April 1994, the world looked at South Africa with hope and optimism. The nation's transition from apartheid to democracy became a symbol of victory for human rights and freedom. On paper and to the world, apartheid and colonialism had ceased to exist. A post-colonial nation was born. It was thought, now the hard times are over, but on the contrary, it became a time when the nation went through trauma, confusion, and violence. South Africa was a free nation, but not necessarily a decolonized one. In 1998, Coetzee published Disgrace. The book seemed to confirm every colonial citizen's worst fear, that political change can do almost nothing to eliminate human misery. South Africa was a free nation, but not necessarily a decolonized one. A new world emerging out of the ruins of colonization was a myth, as neither the colonizer nor the colonized were able to overcome the memories of subordination. Disgrace, set in the post-apartheid Mandela era, paints a dark and somber picture of the new South Africa. Now, what is apartheid? We have used the word apartheid previously in the earlier slide. So, apartheid literally means apartness, rangbhed in Afrikaans and in Dutch. It's a system that segregates people on the basis of their skin color and race. Social and economic status, employability, and benefits are decided accordingly. Mixed race marriages and interracial sex are prohibited. Resistance to apartheid came in the form of African National Congress and other political entities. They staged protests, marches, and strikes. In 1994, Nelson Mandela won the first post-apartheid election by a landslide and became the first president of South Africa. Now we come back to the novel and let us look at the most important characters. Now the protagonist, his name is David Lurie. He is a professor of communication skills in the university in Cape Town. Then we have Lucy. Lucy is David's daughter who doesn't stay in Cape Town, but she stays in a village called Salem. Bev Shaw. Bev Shaw runs a shelter for stray dogs and she also lives in Salem. Petrus is an African who works for Lucy in her farm. And he's also the neighbor, Lucy's neighbor. Then we have Melanie. She is a student at the university who later accused David of rape. Then we have Isaac. Isaac is Melanie's father. And then Pollux. Pollux is not a very important character, and yet a very important character because he's underage brother-in-law of Petrus, and he also raped Lucy, as we are going to see in the novel. Now, a brief summary of the text. The protagonist, David Lurie, is twice divorced 52-year-old professor of communication skills at Cape Town. His comfortable life is shattered when he is rejected by the prostitute whom he used to visit weekly. He becomes a servant to Eros when he tries to rape his student, Melanie, in exchange of grades. Melanie fails in the exam and brings charges of rape against David, resulting in a huge scandal in the university. David refuses to express any repentance for his act because to him, repentance belongs to another world of discourse. Ridiculed by his ex-wife and threatened by Melanie's boyfriend, David flees from Cape Town and goes to his daughter Lucy in the countryside in Salem. She accepts him, but also tells him that the only life in the countryside is a life shared with animals. She introduces him to Bev Shaw, who runs a clinic to put diseased dogs to sleep, and David starts assisting her with no empathy and only disgust. His attitude towards the dogs echoes his attitude towards racial oppression and apartheid. As for the animals, by all means, let us be kind to them, he says in one part of the novel. As for the animals, by all means, let us be kind to them, but let us not lose perspective. We are a different order of creation from the animals, not higher necessarily, just different. So if we are going to be kind, let it be out of simple generosity, not because we feel guilty or fear of retribution. David's understanding, or rather the lack of it, of the changing relations of the black and whites in the new South Africa receives a severe blow when one afternoon 3 black youths brutally rape Lucy and try to burn him alive. The harrowing experience of violence leaves him mutilated and also further estranged from his daughter. Failing to convince his daughter to make a police complaint, David returns to Cape Town to find his house completely ransacked. He calls it the process of redistribution, with the realization that now the social and the civic rules have changed. This is the central theme of the novel. He had grown up with certain privileges and now they existed no more. He is a castaway. Times have changed. At the age of 52, not teaching what he likes to teach, not needed either by the university or by his daughter or by his divorced wives, David must start again. This time, he is not in the position of power and has nothing. He has lost the power of the white man. His daughter Lucy has a better understanding of the new South Africa. She knows that to survive here, she must tolerate the brutalization that comes away. Perhaps that is what I must learn to accept, she tells her father, to start at the ground level with nothing. No cards, no weapons, no property, no rights, no dignity, like a dog. Lucy refuses to either have an abortion or put up a police complaint. She sees it as a payment of taxes for what the whites have done to the blacks. So now they have become tax collectors and debt collectors, wanting her not for slavery, but for subjection and subjugation. That is the price one has to pay for staying on. Petrus, Lucy's African neighbor, who is now modestly prosperous with 2 wives and a few hectares of land, offers to marry Lucy and give her protection in exchange of her land. The irony of the situation hits David when he sees Lucy contemplating to take up Petrus's offer. They are now the victim of their victims. Lucy hopes to find some dignity in the situation by staying on and relinquishing all power. The only hope she sees is in the birth of a child, a product of the upheaval of the cast-out whites. Conceived in violence, this child portends the coming of the new regime. But David is not sure. He says, what kind of child can seed like that give life to? Seed driven into a woman not in love, but in hatred, mixed chaotically, meant to soil her, to mark her like a dog's urine. David returns to Cape Town to see that everything has changed. He finds himself in the world that values youth, commerce, and the future, and he finds none of these with him. His quest for sexual gratification in the beginning of the book now turns into a quest for acceptance of self. He apologizes to Melanie's father, Isaac, and they bond over the pain of violation that their daughters have faced. He returns to his daughter, Lucy, but not to control her, but to be with her. In putting the diseased dogs to sleep, he learns to put away matters that do not heal, with all the love and mercy he can summon. In a strange yet sick way, diseased dogs become his alter ego. He gains a redeeming sense of compassion, absent from his life until now. In spite of suffering one devastating humiliation after other, David reclaims some dignity by the end of the novel because he gives up everything. In a way, he gives up even more than a dog ever could. His daughter, his ideas about justice and language, his dream of the opera on Byron, and even the dying animals he learned to love without reservation, without a thought for himself. He finds a purpose in life in burying the bodies of the dead dogs with dignity. Disgrace is thus a Bildungsroman, for it traces the growth of the protagonist from physical to emotional, from material to spiritual, from disgrace to grace. David's journey towards grace is so horrific and humiliating that one wonders, does man have to lose everything he cherishes before he finds dignity, acceptance, and grace? In the post-colonial setting, is this the process of decolonization? Or is it the result of negritude movement? The basic problem with this movement is that in its attempt to seek revenge against the white brutality, it too displays the same sadistic racist anger basic to colonial system. There is no feeling of liberation. Coetzee paints the harsh reality with the objective vision of an outsider. Years of suffering during the white rule has left behind a residue of bitterness and hatred, of anger and revenge, and left behind a world of retaliation and retribution. Now for the questions that are usually asked, one definitely 12 marks question, as I may put it, a long answer question, is discussing Disgrace as a post-colonial novel. When you write about a post-colonial novel, you have to describe how Africa changed after apartheid and after 1994 when Mandela became the president. In the post-colonial novel itself, you also have to talk a little about or write a little about the journey of David Lurie, because his entire journey from disgrace to grace happens because the country is now a post-colonial country. Had it been a colonial country, he would have been a white man ruling as he was doing earlier. So definitely the character also will come when you're writing a post-colonial novel. When you write about the character of Lurie, you will have to start with how he began. He began as a man who was fully satisfied with his life. Having divorced twice, he had a prostitute whom he used to visit once. But then one day, when he meets the prostitute with her children, she refuses to acknowledge him, and that rejection becomes too much for David to take. Melanie, a student who is not very bright, approaches Lurie with her boyfriend to get some scores instead of some favors. And David has had no qualms because he already had a hurt male ego. David does not really has any qualms about taking up that offer, and because of which the rape happens. And Melanie later, because she fails in her exam, puts up a complaint against David. The entire university is shocked and David is thrown out of his job. He decides to go to his daughter who lives in Salem, and there he works with Bev Shaw in putting away the dead dogs, which initially he does with a lot of disgust. But as he returns home and his final journey, going back to Cape Town and then again coming back, the second journey back to Cape Town is his actual journey of acceptance of the situation that's there. And that is when he rises from disgrace to grace. Because now he gives up everything. He doesn't want to control his daughter. He doesn't want all the benefits that he had as a white man. And all he's looking for is to put away the dogs with which he identifies so much, giving them a dignified death, giving them a dignified burial. So that's David's character. So you have to trace the entire journey, Cape Town to Salem, then back to Cape Town, and then back to Salem. Character of Lucy. Lucy is a very different character than her father. Whereas David lives in the world of a white man, a male white, which is twice superior in those days of colonialism, Lucy is more in touch with the ground reality that now in the post-colonial country, they have to underplay their power, they have to accept what comes their way, and somewhere they also have to pay a penance for all the atrocities that the white men have done to the blacks. So she accepts her fate. She accepts the fact that she is to give birth to a child whose father is a black. And instead of her own safety, she is ready to give away her farmland. So that shows that Lucy is a very different kind of a person. Then there are major incidents in the novel. The turning point of the novel is the first relationship that David had with Soraya, where she refuses to meet him and hurts his ego. Then comes the rape of Melanie, which turns the entire world of David Fury upside down. And he's robbed of all the honor, all the respect that he had earned till date as a professor. And third is the rape of Lucy. Rape is a violation. So it completely violates every dignity, sanctity of the whites which they had. And in fact, this is exactly what the whites had been doing for so long with the black. So rape right now is a symbolic way of complete violation of a country, complete violation of a woman's body, a violation. But then this violation is also giving a new birth. And Lucy hopes that this new birth is going to bring about change in this country. So with this, I end this lecture of mine, and I wish you all the best. I'm sure you're going to do very well. Thank you so much.